time. Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 184. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 7th of the 2nd, 2023. It's a good day. It's a Tuesday. Tuesdays are good days. All days are good days, really and truly. All day. If you're alive, it's a good day. It's a good day to be alive. So today we're talking about the magical reappearance of a file. A file that disappeared inexplicably, causing us to lose a case worth 20 million. And when I say us, I mean us, the country, us, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We together lost that $20 million. And that's the ruling that was awarded to the 9 formerly murder accused. The Attorney General came touching down, was that last week Monday, fresh off of a flight from Bahamas or something like that, and said that actually the file was lost. It wasn't that the government and the state agencies were playing slack and loose with state and civilian business. No. The file was lost. The file entered into the Solicitor General's office, and it entered a vortex somewhere inside there. There was strangely some kind of vortex inside of that Solicitor General's office, and the file was sucked in. And that was that. So they couldn't have mounted a proper defense because they didn't have the file. They didn't have that case file. Now, what would you know, just about a week later, the file has magically reappeared. Missing Naipaul Coolman file reappears. It reappeared. This article, I'm reading this from The Guardian. Justice John now wants it as part of the 20 million fiasco probe. The mystery of the missing Vindra Naipaul Coolman lawsuit file deepened yesterday after it was mysteriously found. This was confirmed last night in a media statement from the Attorney General's office. It was issued by lead investigator into the issue of the missing file, Justice Stanley John, retired. John and Justice Ralston Nelson were hired last week to investigate the disappearance of the missing file, which is said to be the reason the state failed to mount a defense in a matter that was brought by the 9 former murder accused in the Naipaul Coolman case. Okay. First up in all of this, I would like to know how much these two investigators are being paid. You know, the 90% of what the government does seems to be a URP program for lawyers. To be very honest with you, 90% of everything the government does seems like unemployment relief programs for lawyers. It's make work for lawyers. These justices are retired. You hire 2 of them to go investigate this matter. How much are they being paid? Like, really, how much are they being paid? And can someone explain this to me? Why do we need 2 retired justices to do this investigation when we have a police service that is already paid? Their salaries are already paid. You don't have to pay the police investigator any kind of special money. You don't have to give them anything special. Their salary is already accounted for. Why can't they investigate it? And the police specialists in investigations, are you telling me that the justices are better at investigation than our specialist police investigators who are paid specifically for the job of investigation? Why do we need to hire 2 special people to do this? I am very interested to know how much they're being paid. Like, I said this in the video I made today on this topic. The Vincent Nelson fiasco. Vincent Nelson, Queen's Counsel, he's a King's Counsel now because the Queen is no more. But Vincent Nelson, who is right now suing Trinidad and Tobago for something like nearly $100 million, somewhere around that he has us in court for. And we're trying to sue him to get back some money that we already paid for him, some nearly $40-something million or something like that we're trying to retrieve. That man came to the shores of Trinidad and Tobago as a senior attorney to investigate matters. Under the partnership, be that as it might be, it was the same thing. Well, that could possibly lead to charges and arrests, and we can't have that. Right. So if you get the police involved, and the police investigate, and they get to the bottom of it, someone could end up charged and arrested and in jail, and we don't really want that. Okay, understood. All right. Last night, the release from John via the ministry stated, in my capacity as the lead investigator into the captioned subject matter, with reference in the disappearance of the file, I was this evening, the 6th of February, informed by the Solicitor General, acting, Miss Carleen Senath, that the file in question was today handed over to her. It was handed to her. Let's trace this. Please, let's trace this. Who handed the file to Miss Solicitor General? And then who handed the file to that person? And who handed the file to that person? Like, that should be something easy to walk back. It should be something easy to walk back. Empress Rooney says, Nathan, it's time Mindful Live get a secretary to do paperwork, especially freedom of information. Well, if you're offering to do that job, Empress Rooney, you're hired. But yeah, how hard should that investigation be? I would assume that a sophisticated office like the Office of the Solicitors General may even have a camera system. So let's trace this thing. It's a closed office. How many people work at the Solicitor General's office? It should not be that difficult to find out where was this file refound. Kevin says, honestly, I don't know what is the standard procedure for case management. Neither do I. It seems, Kevin, to be honest, it seems like the Solicitor General's office, like they don't even know for sure what is standard procedure for case management. They seem like they don't know. The Attorney General seems like they don't even know. Because something that was told to me in the last conversation with the CEO of the TTME, that the inefficiencies in the system are there because people benefit from it. So this chaotic manner in which the Solicitor General seems to do business, this chaotic manner, the chaos helps for someone out there to benefit from it. The former Attorney General, Mr. Al-Rawi, the current Attorney General, was saying that he introduced some note, a piece of policy, sent it out there to the Solicitor General's office and told them that now every legal matter must be informed. He must be informed about every step they take in these legal matters. That was a policy statement that was done by Mr. Al-Rawi for the Solicitor General's office. But the thing is, these public offices, and we spoke about this before when we were talking about how government runs many of these things. Now, this isn't to excuse the government and the politicians in and of themselves. They will have their own parts to play. But always remember, lots of these public servants are there regardless of which government comes, which government goes. So, the Attorney General said in policy that everything done by the Solicitor General's office he must be informed of it. And obviously that policy had no say. The Solicitor General's office seemed like they took that policy paper and put it in the washroom to be used as toilet paper, because no one paid any mind to that. And that's nothing new. It's a common thing in many countries. I remember a bit of news from, was that like 2019, somewhere around there, going back in time a little, in the United States. Corruption or coincidence? I would say not coincidence. That's what I would say. Going back in the United States, when Big Orange was in charge of the United States out there, Donald Trumpy boy, he he was a certain kind of president that didn't like too much outside wars and outside military conflict in the United States. He had campaign promise to bring back a lot of the soldiers there. And when you actually look through what happened during his presidency, the public servants in charge of the military over there lied to him. He told them, bring back the troops from Syria, and they told him, okay, we already brought back all that we could. And actually it was a lie. They lied to him, because they're the ones that are there when presidents change, when presidents stay, they're still there. And it's the same in Trinidad and Tobago. Bear in mind, a lot of those people in that Solicitor General's office may have been there since 2010, when a different Attorney General was in charge. I wonder if there's anyone in the Solicitor General's office currently that was employed in the Solicitor General's office since the Attorney General of 2010. Alright, and wait, wasn't it that same Attorney General from back in 2010 that contested this case? Strange. I wonder if there might be a relation there. I wonder if that's possible. Nah, that can't be possible. And no one would still be in the Solicitor General's office from 2013 till now. There can't be anybody there still. No. Interesting. Let me take a drink of coffee with that one. Truth is, literally half of those bureaucracies can be replaced by AI. You know, I am worried. I have some worry about how AI has its place in the future. But personally, if AI could take over for bureaucracy, like, lose those jobs. Personally, lose those jobs. I would love it if all public servants were robots. Let no human work for the public service. Let all our public servants be robots. All. And let everyone else who wants to work in the private sector. The public sector, we don't have to worry about if they are understaffed and overworked anymore. We don't have to worry about the working conditions not being suitable anymore. We don't have to worry about the union holding the government ransom anymore. We don't have to worry about about 3/4 of most of our budget going towards public servants anymore. We automate all of the public service. Electronics can fail easily, it can be hacked, etc. Electronics cannot fail easily. They can fail, but that doesn't mean easily, because bear in mind, it's electronics that carry the world as is. It's electronics that would be holding up hospitals right now. It's electronics that hold up babies day in, day out, pumping the baby's respirator. It's electronics. So I mean, to make it seem like electronics are too untrustworthy to put in charge of anything is not exactly true, and it's not exactly true. And it can be hacked. Yes, it can be hacked, but I mean, people could be hacked too. It's called bribes. So it's not like the current system is impenetrable, and hacking isn't as common a problem in those kind of situations. So I would propose AI, and then we have unemployment rate at 99%. No, we won't. In fact, I think the government employing people is a problem in Trinidad and Tobago. The government employs too many people. It kills the free market. It kills the market for labor. You go Google search the chambers of commerce speaking about government employing people. It has been a problem the chambers of commerce have spoken about year in, year out, going back as far as we can recall. Well, let's put it this way: software, not electronics. Well, it's the same thing, kinda. Yet all the machine in the hospital always does because of not upkeeping the machine. Yes, some do go down, but there are many machines that don't go down. I mean, you have critiques to make of the hospital, but it's not like respirators and life assistance machines, the whole myriad of them that hospitals contain. It's not like you see people dying on those machines every single day because the machines are conking out. It's not really true. Did you know that the court process has slowed since we have virtual trials? That doesn't have anything to do with AI or automation. I would love if some of that could be automated too. Listen, we have AI that could pass the bar exam. We have AI that could do that. Listen, I would say some people who have free legal help out there in the court system, you might benefit from getting an AI to draft a legal argument for you. Get the AI to draft your legal argument, forget about the lawyer, and that might actually be more effective. Replace some of the lawyers too. Like, I'm cool with that. I've seen the consequences that AI and software can bring about. Like what? In what case? What case is that AI will never be more effective? How can you say that? Like, are you Lex Friedman out there? Are you an MIT computer engineer that AI would not lose documents? That's for sure. AI cannot take into consideration human factors, emotions, etc. Listen, that might be a benefit. That might be a good thing. Yes. We don't want the human factors in consideration. We want raw facts. We want you to process the raw facts. Don't take in human consideration there. Where we need human consideration, we would hire a human. But when it comes to bureaucracy doesn't need human consideration. Bureaucracy needs that robotic movement. You're shuffling papers. Well, if you're talking about family court user plenty numbers, I am not saying that we are replacing the family court judges with AI, but wouldn't it be beneficial if an AI could process the circumstances of divorce settlement and with statistical probability decide who would actually be better for the child? What would be the ideal split of the resources for the child? That's literally a smarter option for me than the roughshod insanity that goes on right now in the family court, where many men know this, that it is weighted against them, and you now are dependent on the whims and fancies of lawyers. And then you have the reality where some people know better divorce lawyers, some people contact their divorce lawyers earlier and they get an unfair advantage in it. No, we don't want that. Actually, we would prefer that when we go to this divorce court, we go to a computer, input the facts of the file in, press enter, and let the computer process a legal case for that. That will be ideal. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that a judge is going to be the AI to determine the matter. The legal arguments of the case could be presented by an AI way better than a human being. That's already truth. The open AI ChatGPT has already passed the bar. It's already producing better legal arguments than many lawyers. So it's not something that is a question of if it could happen. It probably should. In fact, it probably should. But all of this is speaking. Some divorce lawyers that work for both sides. Yes, there's a lot of corruption in that. Put an AI to run the country and watch people ball. No, you don't want an AI to run the country. I disagree totally with that one. I disagree totally with that one, AI running the country. But there are certain areas where AI will definitely be better, where the AI will definitely be smarter. And to think that we would always use humans in all of those positions where literally the AI would be faster and more suitable just does not make sense to me. It seems a bit backward in thinking. But yes, the file has represented itself. The file has popped back up out of the thin air, and it's now back in the hands of the Solicitor General. And I suppose the two senior attorneys, the former judges that are being paid an unannounced sum of money to do this whole investigation. I suppose they are now going to tell us what the ramifications of this file reappearing would be in their investigation. Now, jumping right ahead into some politics to deal with local governance. PM slams failing regional corporations. Now, I think this headline is a little off from the actual framing of it. I don't think he was slamming the failing regional corporations. He was saying that the system right now, the system we have for regional corporations, is failing. It does not make sense. Trinidad is a joke, Ria Ward says. Well, you hear some people saying Trinidad is not a real place. So, no surprise there. PM slams regional corporations. Local government corporations, including the People's National Movement controlled Diego Martin Regional Corporation, have come under fire from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. Defending the government's thrust for local government reform yesterday, Dr. Rowley said corporations are not functioning effectively, noting that he himself almost lost his house 2 months ago because of a landslip that the Diego Martin Corporation could not fix. Speaking at the opening of the refurbished $131 million Skinner Park San Fernando facility, Rowley said local government meant putting serious responsibility in the hands of local people. This Skinner Park facility, this is Dr. Rowley speaking, will eventually get fully in the hands of the city of San Fernando to be maintained, cleaned and protected by the people of San Fernando, and they will have the resources to do that from two sources: the taxes collected from the community and the allocation provided by the central government, the Prime Minister said. He questioned why detractors could not see the benefits of reform that will ultimately put more power in the hands of regional bodies. Why is there a problem with that, he said. If you have a better model, let me know. But one thing is sure, the existing model is not working. They have elections ever so ever and do the same thing, which is largely nothing, he said. Dr. Rowley went on to say this. Dr. Rowley went on to say this. Go and call, he was highlighting the ineffectiveness of the municipalities and regional corporations. Go and call your corporation anywhere you live. Penal Derby don't have gas to put in their vehicle, so they can't collect the garbage. But you are a corporation with a mayor and a chain. Absolute rubbish. You go to Diego Martin and you call the Diego Martin Corporation to fix a patrol, and they say we don't have any money. He spoke about a personal challenge. He spoke about a personal challenge he himself got with his home. I almost lost my whole house 2 months ago, he said, because the drain outside my house is broken and the corporation can't fix it because they haven't got the sand and the cement, and the water came through from the drain into my house and undermined my yard, and I was just there in time to catch the landslide before it cut 8 inches of separation in my yard, he revealed, saying he eventually had to fix the problem himself. Dr. Rowley said if the corporations had their own revenue, one of the areas that will be addressed by reform, this would be avoided. I remember I was speaking about this. When we were talking about how government functions, and I was telling someone in this live that Dr. Rowley cannot wake up tomorrow morning and decide WASA has to function a certain way and make that happen. That's not how our system runs. I do not actually believe that this is a lie. I don't think he's lying here. I believe that the Prime Minister of our country had a drain in front of his yard that wasn't functioning well, and it leaked into his yard and nearly undermined his yard, and he had to fix it himself. I believe that story because that's a very common story in Trinidad and Tobago, and believe that he, being the Prime Minister, well, he probably could have forced some changes there, but in proper running of the country's system, he being the Prime Minister cannot actually effect change on that in a day-to-day basis. Is okay, Mr. Howe, but where else they will get money to pay for all the electioneering? He stupid. I don't know what money you're talking about here. What's the relevance of that to specifically what we're talking about here? So That's the nature of how things function. The corporations, I had one of the conversations I did over on my YouTube channel. This is also streaming live on YouTube. Hit that like if you're looking at this on YouTube. If you are not, you can go subscribe to me over on YouTube. Then Nathan Spring on YouTube. Not necessarily now, but whenever you feel like it. There are other videos. There's some interesting conversations. One with the chairman of the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation. One with the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. And more conversations are coming. If you have a request for a conversation, be sure to hit me up in my inbox or anywhere else and tell me who you'd like to see a conversation with also. But yeah, in the conversation with the chairman of the Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation, this was part of the point he was making, that the corporations have a limited budget and they have way more work to be done than their budget can accommodate. That is the reality of governance in Trinidad and Tobago. The corporations do not have enough money to complete the mandate that people expect of them. So what Dr. Rowley is talking about here is that he is saying their proposal for reforming the local government, for reforming that whole corporations, is that the property tax would be sent to the local government bodies. They will now collect property tax, and that property tax would go to the local government bodies, who will be able to use that money to fix things. The Prime Minister further revealed, we are going to Sangre Grande for local government reform. To say to the people of Sangre Grande, it is ridiculous that you have a physical venue, but you cannot cut the grass because your corporation doesn't have the gas to put in equipment or don't have the equipment. And the grass grows so tall that the people cannot use the park. Local government reform is going to put an end to that. He explained, we are going to collect the property tax, small amounts from people, but it stays in the hands of the local government. So there will be no question of a park in a community where the grass grows undisturbed and people can't use it. Conversation with economist Roger Hussain would be interesting. I'll make a note of that. Yes, that's what he's talking about. And here's the thing. I agree with Dr. Rowley here. I agree with him. Listen, if we can create a system where I will pay a small fee based on the size and nature of my property, and I will pay that money to someone in the region right around my neighborhood who is going to use that money directly on my neighborhood. That makes obvious sense to me. But the problem is, I don't know if this is going to work exactly like this. The Prime Minister is saying here, a Tobago Wednesday with THA Chief Secretary. Ooh, I would love that too. The corporation must keep all their money to fight elections. Here's the thing. I don't know if it would work like that, because even in the local government reform that they propose, I believe the money that is collected in the property tax does not go to the local government. It doesn't stay in the corporation. No. It actually goes to the consolidated fund. I have seen article after article talking about this. An article here in the Newsday from 2021. That's 2 years ago, easy like that. November 2021, economists create new fund for property tax revenue. Former Finance Minister is calling on the government to create a new fund like the Green Fund and the Heritage and Stabilization Fund to manage the revenue generated from the property tax instead of putting it into the consolidated fund. If this is done, Nunes Teixeira said, the government can ensure greater accountability when the tax revenue is spent. She explained, I do think the idea of tax revenue going into the big heap of the consolidated fund, where it will get mixed with everything else, and then the Minister of Finance determines where it goes, leads to a situation where there really is no accountability. If you are saying to me that my property tax is for a specific purpose, then it should be transparent, accountable, and I should be able to see how that money is being spent. And that, I think, is the main issue. They should craft legislation to ensure that property taxes do not go to the consolidated fund. The central government shouldn't be able to touch it, Kilvaughan says. And I fully agree. That's what I believe. And when I spoke to the chairman of the Tunapuna-Piako Regional Corporation, I told him that very same thing. When we discussed it, he spoke about that property tax, and I told him just what I said right here. And I said, actually, I don't trust the government with that, taking all of the money, putting it into the consolidated fund, and then promising me that they're going to give more to the regional corporation. I don't believe that. Isa says, up to now, no one can clearly say where our health surcharge does go. What going to be different? KH says, if that's the case, subcontractors should be given first preference for jobs from the same area. Fully agree with that. And here's the thing, that's something that would be easier to be done if all of the money is controlled within the area. That's something that is much easier to be done. The budget could be given from the local area too, where you have a budget where you could see how much was collected in property tax from this Burgess, from this region, and how much was spent of this property tax fund. That would be an easy, obvious thing, but no. If we collect this all and put it into the government's whole big kitty, their whole big piggy bank, the consolidated fund, and then they promise us that we're going to return all to your regional corporation, I don't trust that's going to happen. You see, there's a reality right now where on every dollar we pay at the pump, there's some amount of cents that is supposed to be paid towards fixing the roads. I don't know how many of you know this. Every dollar you spend at the pump, this was a part in one of the conversations I had too. There's a little fee on every dollar you pay at the pump that is supposed to go towards maintaining roads. The problem is that goes into the consolidated fund. So when a pandemic hits and the government needs money to do other things, they will take that money and do other things and say that they ran out of money to pave the road. Here's the thing. I would like it to be that money that was given for a specific purpose be used for that specific purpose. And the way for that to happen is to clearly stipulate that. Don't put it into the consolidated fund. I don't trust that. I don't trust that. Because we're seeing it already. The money that we pay at the pump to fix the road. How much is that account at right now? I don't know. The government is promising there will be a road fixing mission for this year. Okay, yes, okay, grand. But they're promising they will pay that out of the government coffers, out of the bonus they got from oil and gas sales last year. Okay, yes. What about the money at the pump? Where did that go? And that's the problem. So, as wonderful as what Dr. Rowley is saying there sounds, and that Sangre Grande wouldn't have to worry about cutting their savannah and their playing field anymore because the money would be right there in Grande. It actually wouldn't. The money would be in the consolidated fund. And wouldn't it be the same process that exists right now where the regional corporations have to try to beg the government, beg central government to release some money for them at a specific time for them to do things? Wouldn't that be the same reality? And I saw someone was speaking about the fact that the regional corporations hold back their money to do their own campaigning, etc., etc., etc. And I think some of that could be allowed to happen because there's that distribution of accountability that I spoke about previously, where we regularly see that in government, where they never have it that you can clearly blame one person. The regional corporation would say that, well, actually we don't have funding to do that at the moment, and we don't have funding because the central government hasn't cleared that. And the finance ministry would say, well, actually we cleared all the funding for the year. It's currently with the permanent secretary. You speak to the permanent secretary and they already have it in process. The process is ongoing and yada 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 yada. There's nobody you could blame. But here's the thing, forget all of that. There's no central government there. There's just the regional corporation. My money goes to the regional corporation. I want my road patched. I checked the budget last year. I see where the money is right now in my regional corporation. Why aren't you patching my road? And here's the thing, I don't have to go through the morning traffic to reach in town to reach in front of the regional corporation office. You have my money from this year and I know where your office is. I live 1 kilometer away from your office. I could walk and reach your office 6 in the morning to see when you walk in, and I will be be there harassing you, heckling you every day because I know you have the money and you have the ability to do it, and the buck stops with you. But at the moment, we never know where the buck stops. The buck stops with, I don't know. So you are always given, I don't know how many of you have tried to do things around you, try to get a road paved, try to get a box drain. We've done some of that. Try to get a savanna lit. Try to get the drainage done on a savanna. Try to get a savanna cut. Try to get a playing field patched where they bring several loads of material and, get the nice rounded surface. I don't know how many of you have ever tried to do any of those things, but I urge you, give it an attempt. Attempt to do it, and you'll see the problems that exist in the system where the problems exist and there's no person you could blame. Okay, you feel it, you're that rare kind of ignorant trini. Somebody had to get cuss. So you're holding the cuss in your back pocket, waiting to unleash this pocket full of cuss on somebody. Somebody has to get it. And everybody you talk to, well, they're pointing you in the next direction. You don't even have somebody you could unload your cusses on. There's no one directly to blame for all of it. Issa says when they read the budget, they should tell us what they actually used the previous year. Yeah, they should, obviously. But, and the thing is, that's what I believe local government reform should be. I like the idea of local government reform, but I think they still aren't going far enough. Give more power to the local government, where the accountability then could stop with them. When people are complaining about their roads and drainage, you go to that local government office right there. And then the local government elections start to make a lot more sense. You see, the local government and the national government in the general election aren't supposed to be doing the same thing. We are not supposed to be looking at Rowley and Hines and Imbert and them to patch roads and drains. Not that. They're there for policy matters, for legislative matters, to pass laws. The everyday day-to-day running of your issues shouldn't be the national government in Port of Spain. It should be closer to you, your local government. That's what it should be. Issa says, I heard people that get bonus when they retain money unspent. Is that true? I do not know. I do not know if that's true. I do not know. Return money unspent, and I don't know if anybody would return money unspent. They try to use it and build it up on their own, but return it, I don't think anybody really returns that money. No, that's not really what they do with that. Returning isn't on the list of things they seem to enjoy doing with that. But speaking of government spending, roughly 1.6 billion transformation coming for Sandu. So the government is using the money. Sandu, Southland, you all have good things coming according to the government. South is being built up. Listen, I kind of like the idea of South being built up some more. Trinidad, as it stands, is too heavily focused on that northwest region. The traffic situation is ridiculous. The traffic situation has a lot to do with the fact that Trinidad is so centrally built up. South is love. I hope that's what you meant there, Empress Rooney. South is love. So yeah. Skinner Park, they already get their renovation, and $1.6 billion in infrastructural investment is coming towards San Fernando in the next 4 years or so. So big things to come in San Fernando. If you're looking to where might have some booming business in soon coming times, it might be San Fernando. When I see some people critique and criticize Dr. Rory, good evening, Scafty, not Dr. Rory, sorry, Mr. Manning, about some of his visions in building up and the investments he did in Port of Spain, I see the reward of that. That made sense. That actually made sense. You see some positive outcomes from that. So maybe we would be seeing some of those positive outcomes. Maybe we'd be seeing some of those positive outcomes in the Southland too, with that investment, big investment in San Fernando. Yeah, 1.9 billion. Yeah. this is the statement that Dr. Rowley gave on that granting San Fernando that expenditure was not accidental. It was because we recognized that the restructuring of Petrotrin would have had a negative effect on San Fernando and the wider community. We had to do something in the San Fernando district so that those who were negatively affected had some kind of relief, he said. The Prime Minister added, I dare tell you that I look forward to the next 4 to 5 years in San Fernando, where you will not recognize the city as it grows as one of the fastest in this country. Dr. Rowley said there were never enough resources to do everything at once. Decisions to spend public money like this comes after discussions. We have been saying to this country that we will try to do more with less. We are in a continuous journey of development and every project was prioritized. I know that many moons ago, local elections coming up. I worked 20 years in San Fernando. It's really different. Well, I understand what you're saying there, Scafty, but I think some of this is more direct in the spending, and it's kind of already started with the Skinner Park renovation already being finished and open. So there is some vision that it's already going on. Meanwhile, San Fernando West MP Faris Al-Arawi said 11 projects are underway in the city, and this was because of Dr. Rowley's vision. The Prime Minister stood by the Dare to Dream vision. This site is one of the 11 enterprises of the Utica project for San Fernando redevelopment. Those projects will cost 1.599 billion of investment in San Fernando. That represents employment, livelihood, beautification. He said the widened waterfront, the Ramsaran walkover, the reopening of Hatter's Panyard, the cleared Ministry of Work site, the high-rise buildings, and Plaza San Carlos were part of the project. Thank you, Kevin Saran. Sando is nice. I prefer it to Port of Spain. Listen, I prefer most places to Port of Spain, to be clear. Give people their back pay. I hate the idea of back pay. I'm sorry. I hate the idea of back pay. What is back pay? Why should it be that, okay, you determine that from the years 2018 till 2022, I should have had a 5% raise in my salary because of the situation that existed back then. Well, raise my pay at the moment. Why is it that I'm getting a raise in pay for last 5 years, 5 years in the future? This thing is ridiculous. This thing is ridiculous. No, that doesn't make any kind of sense. I hope my great-grandchildren will see that vision, the Scafty says. Well, listen, I understand your skepticism. I understand totally, but the Port of Spain renovation and the investment in Port of Spain was done within our lifetime. Port of Spain within our lifetime changed to nearly an unrecognizable level. So it's not impossible that it will happen. Sadly, no matter how beautiful it gets, we can't enjoy it with the crime situation, and that is a reality in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad just says inflation done eat out the value of that back pay. Exactly. Inflation already ate it out. You told me I needed a 5% increase in 2018 because there was an increase in cost of living in 2018. But you give me the 5% increase from 2018 in 2023, when actually there has been a further cost of living increase. You're lying to me, man. Imagine the highway from San Fernando to Point taking 13 plus years and still counting. Unsurprised by that. Totally unsurprised by that, to be very honest with you. Hey, I saw a promising bit of news. Just about how fast this all went down. Contractor jailed for threatening murder suicide. So I don't want a raise and back pay. Okay then. I want a raise. I would always want a raise, but I don't work in the public service. If I want to raise, then I have to charge the people that I charge for my service a higher amount of money, which I think is the way a raise is supposed to happen. If you're better at your service, you get more money. Not that you just go and your union has a debate with a politician in a back room and then decide that all of a sudden your labor is worth more money. That's the kind of thing that has our economy in the shaky state it is. I wish the PM and the government had a policy to deal with vagrancy in every town and district in Trinidad and Tobago. Work for 2013 salaries in 2023 and hush. Okay. When Port of Spain was being developed, we had an economic boom. Now we do not, hence I'm not holding my breath. Understood. But we do have a bit of a increase in our gas revenues coming in. That's a fact. The government said they made a profit recently, so we have some more money inside the kitty. Kevon, you see that dealing with vagrancy business, that's a very difficult thing. And I think as the world progresses more, it's going to become more and more difficult, because the modern soft-hearted, more liberalized way of dealing with, more progressive way of dealing with vagrancy generally makes it worse. And part of the problem is vagrancy is such a multifaceted problem. For one, in many places in the world, they already stopped calling them vagrant. There are better words for them now. So from vagrant, it went to homeless. And from homeless, it went to unhoused. Unhoused, I believe, is where the proper term is at now, the unhoused community. But the thing is, the unhoused community has a myriad of issues that causes them to be unhoused. It's not like there's one issue to solve. It's not like if you give all of them a house, they're all of a sudden going to not be vagrants anymore. No, some of them are drug addicts, so giving them a house might actually be the worst thing. It's not. Some of them are mentally ill. Some of them, it's not even the drugs, it's mental illness. Or some of them, it's a combination of the drugs and mental illness. Then there are some who are there because of economic stress, and they have fallen out the bottom of the economic ladder, and they are actually impoverished and on the streets in that realm. I would say that that group might actually be in the minority. But there are all kinds of combinations of those things. That's difficult to deal with. Issa says, so if we can't get a raise in salaries, they could adjust the gate income threshold, for example. Maybe. Jahim says a lot of us are 2 paychecks short of being homeless. Living paycheck to paycheck is what that's called. Kevon says build shelters for the unhoused, contain and treat the vagrants. Issa says I want to talk about this so bad. A lot of us be, so if we can get a raise, adjust the gate threshold. Okay. If I mispay, I on these streets. My life is stuck. Anybody have a... I don't believe you for a moment, Rhea. I don't believe you for a moment that 1 paycheck away from homelessness. That's not true. That's not true. And also, you're a woman. You know those gender topics, how the internet loves them. Women aren't generally the people that end up on the streets. There are many programs to help women from not ending up on the streets. Usually, if a woman is on the streets, it would be because of many other factors working against them. Many of them. But yeah, dealing with them though is a technical thing. It's a difficult thing. If we can't raise the salaries, the gate threshold, well, I could agree with adjusting the gate threshold. I could agree with that. Depending on the cost of living, yeah. But I am also of the opinion that gate shouldn't be for any and everything also. The government shouldn't just be paying the education, the tertiary education for any and everything. And I think actually the idea that tertiary education is a super essential thing for life, I think that's an erroneous idea in the first place. I think that's an erroneous idea. And as useful and beneficial as GATE has been, I think it could have done some negative in tilting how Trinidadians see tertiary education. They see it as, part of the essential education system. So you have to go to preschool, you have to go to primary, you have to go to secondary, and now you have to go to tertiary. Yeah. I have a law degree and can't get a job. User, is that so? That's strange. What level did you pass out with that law degree with? Hit me up. We may have some work. Kevin says the problem with Gate is it didn't have enough focus. Correct. I think we need to go back to dollar for dollar. I think Gate does help many students. I think Gate could instead of being for any and every student, there could be a performance level gate for the Gate where not every student at any level of performance gets access to Gate. So that's one performance level. Then obviously focused on certain areas of study. You're not getting Gate to go learn feminist lesbian dance therapy. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. You can learn it on your own by any means. So focus on certain subject areas. Performance level that is pretty high to get into, and obviously the means test level also, where it's not for every and anyone. Mr. Manning, I am doing my masters at the moment. Okay, user many numbers, interesting. Mr. Manning and Vision 2020 team considered it part of lifelong learning. But I have 7 subjects. I went back and did welding, and that's how I employed. It's easy, Jahi. Listen, many people frown on the trades. But the trades have work. And just so you know, many of the jobs that may be lost to the AI and robots of the future, many of those won't be the trades. I could tell you that. Many of those won't be the trades. Trades are needed. That's just the reality of it. To be honest, I understand their thinking then, but just like with anything, when things and times change, yeah. I understood their thinking then, but as I said, in hindsight, looking back on it, it may not have been the ideal. Trains is just as important as a university degree. I might say even more important than the vast majority of university degrees. There are some university degrees that are absolutely essential. I would say that's in the minority. A lot of university degrees you would have been better off learning that from the internet, spending several years on the internet acquiring knowledge on whatever those topics were, instead of going to university to learn that's my view. A lot of those things. Mind you, I did 6 welding and didn't get in the industry. Wow, tough. So yeah, in the realm of politics, all right, that's what I was talking about. A promising bit of news I saw coming out from the news here. A contractor jailed for threatening murder-suicide. A 34-year-old contractor was sentenced to 2 months hard labor when he appeared before Magistrate Indra Ramu Haynes at the Tunapuna Magistrates Court on Monday after he pleaded guilty to a harassment charge during the period of January 27th and 1st February 2023. So that's literally like 7 days ago, a week ago. The accused allegedly called his girlfriend's phone and sent several text messages threatening to kill both him and her, which caused the woman to fear for her life. Officers of the Arima police station referred the matter to the Special Victim Department. The officers conducted investigations. The man was arrested and charged with harassment, and he was already sentenced to 2 months hard labor. Like, I find this is a promising development. Because so often you hear about cases like this where the woman called the police, reported the matter, and then the police went and they spoke to him, and he probably pleaded guilty because they had the evidence on him, Rooney. That might be part of it. Pleading guilty is often the remedy to get softer sentencing. I would assume if he didn't plead guilty, he might have had a year in prison with hard labor instead of just the 2 months. That's like a month, day and night they check in. Oh. Hard labor. And I think things like this would actually solve some of those domestic issues. Because many of the domestic. Are you talking about Andrew Tate? No, that's not what I'm talking about right now, Antonio. No. That's a very strange issue to talk about. I don't know how many people are in the know even about all that's going on in that issue. I could still plead not guilty and drag it out for a year. Not necessarily because that's a magistrate's court. It's up to the magistrate to find you guilty. If the magistrate found that there would have been enough evidence, they could have probably sentenced you and found you guilty right there and then too. So I'm not sure if pleading not guilty would have actually dragged it out how much longer there. But yeah, I think this kind of quick resolution of these cases is actually what is needed to help safeguard many people in these kind of situations, because many of the men who would be guilty of this kind of crime, they aren't career criminals. Many of them aren't career criminals. They aren't the kind of guys who would go and sit in jail and be happy sitting in jail for a year. They cool with that. No, they don't even have the gang connections to go and sit in jail and it's like they with the brethren they're in jail. No, they're having a torturous 2 months there, hard labor. A lot of them. So some of them, it might be more effective throwing some domestic violence abusers in jail for a year than some of those criminals for 5 years, because some of them, jail is just a resort. That's where they go for vacation. They take a 5 years downtime. That 2 months in jail will feel like 2 years. Yes, if you are not that kind of career criminal. Like, many people talk about criminals enjoying jail and it's not that bad for them and all of that, and I agree. But if you are not a criminal, jail is a heavy. If you speak to people who went into the prison system not being involved in the whole kind of criminal underworld life, and you speak to them about the challenges of prison, it is hard. It's going to be tough. But it should be. Because you'll fasten out a place there, messaging and calling a woman threatening death. Like, no. Interestingly though, for some parity on the issues, a little balance on the genders, because one was from the Special Victims Unit, we'll have another case from the Special Victims Unit here. Prison officer on 0.1 million bail after husband allegedly tased. A prison officer who allegedly tased her husband appeared before a magistrate charged with possession of a prohibited weapon. The 36-year-old was placed on $100,000 bail by the superior magistrate. The matter was adjourned to March 3rd. Police reports state that around 6:30 p.m. on July 3rd, 2022, a man reported that he and his wife had an altercation, during which the woman allegedly threw an object at him. The man said this led to a physical altercation between them, and subsequent to this, he alleged that his wife teased him. I shouldn't be laughing, because really and truly, I should not be laughing. Y'all are right. I should not be laughing. Because if the roles were reversed and the husband tased the wife, it wouldn't be a laughing matter. Like, if we're being real, it wouldn't be a laughing matter. But, I mean, men and women are different. That's I stand in that position. Like, I look at some people who say men and women are different, and then they look at many people in the modern world that say men and women are the same, and they're like, because they say that, you're trying to show them wrong and try to act like men and women are the same. No, they're not. Like, a physical altercation between a man and a woman is not the same thing. But a taser is use of a weapon. That's assault. I don't know it's a deadly weapon, but it's serious assault there. I'm glad he reported her. Kevon says. User says, but he shouldn't have gone so far. Now she'll lose her job. I don't know. You see, user. I think brother man knew what he was doing. You see, I don't feel this may have been the first case. Abusers are abusive. Hardly ever, when abuse boils over to these kinds of points, would that be the first time. And if homie is like, you know what, I want her to keep her job, so I wouldn't report it. Next time he could be, you know, that could be the end of it for the next time. That's how those things. Like, I know of someone personally. I know of someone in a relationship with a police officer, and they were in the relationship. And he was abusive before he became a police officer. While he was at the barracks, people told her if she reported his abuse, they would kick him out of the barracks. But no, the woman was like, no, I do not want him to lose his job. I want him to be able to get that job, so I won't report that abuse. Then he became a police. And after he became a police, he continued abusing and got worse. And once he became a police, reporting the abuse all of a sudden got a lot more tricky now. And getting him out of the police service became basically impossible. And the man that she protected his job, you know, she didn't want to lose that security for her family. He left her and picked up another woman and made, 2 or 3 children or something like that. So now, I disagree with that. He shouldn't have reported her business. Glenroy Dennis is saying he is a narcissist because the woman was defending herself. So what if he beating her behind closed doors? How do you know that the woman was defending herself? Like, how do you know that? Do you believe that it's impossible that a man can be abused? Like, I don't think the police charged the woman here in this case if she presented a plausible self-defense case. Don't you think the woman could have said, being a prisons officer, she understands some measure of the law? Don't you think the woman could have said, listen, I was defending myself? I don't think that was the case. I think it seems like in this whole thing, I think it could be the case that in this whole thing, the woman was the aggressor herself. Because she threw an object at the man. The man said this led to a physical altercation between them. So who knows what the object was in the first place? And that led to the physical altercation. And then that subsequently led to his wife teasing him. And you know, it's interesting seeing some people, I know some people were joking, but some I don't think were. It's interesting seeing some people say, like, you know, he shouldn't have reported her, he shouldn't have taken this so seriously. But none of those people said in the previous case where the woman reported her boyfriend to the police and he is now facing 2 months jail, hard labor. No one said she shouldn't have reported him. Why should she have reported him, and shouldn't the man have reported his abuser too? Who knew what the girlfriend did in that case where the boyfriend called and threatened the murder-suicide business? Who knows what the girlfriend did? Do you think the boyfriend called just so? Next thing she was cheating on him. Next thing she was doing him real dirty. Next thing, we don't know. But nonetheless, from the evidence we know, he behaved criminally, so he should be prosecuted for that. Similarly, for the case of the woman, if you tase your husband, you need to take a chill. We are naturally inclined to be lenient to women. That is a fact. RL says, wow, Agwan. Nothing much Agwan, man. Nothing much Agwan. You know, the last bit I'd like to talk about is just to prove that I'm right. Just to say, you know, Nathan, you were right. I'm saying it to myself. I remember talking the other day when we were talking about Jack Warner and the United National Congress, the partnership. I was telling so many people in the live, and some people were not believing me. I was telling them that the fallout between the UNC and Jack Warner was forced. I do not think that Kamala Persad-Bissessar wanted to throw Mr. Warner out. It's pretty much obvious. The United States kind of forced their hands. And the fact that Uncle Jack was again in, the pictures that came out of that really threw me back to the 2009-2010 era with Mrs. KPB hugged up on his arm, holding his hand and all of that stuff. It's alleged he was the real mastermind behind that partnership move. But as I said, I am not surprised. I am not surprised that now Jack and Kamala seem to be on the road to reuniting. I am not surprised at all. Not even a little. Because as I said, I don't think the UNC and Jack Warner split up because they didn't like each other in and of itself. The UNC didn't split with Jack Warner because they didn't like Jack Warner's ideology. The UNC didn't split with Jack Warner because they thought he was too criminal. They split with him because he was facing charges in the United States, and you don't, as we know with the whole Dragon Gas deal and all of that, for example, you don't want to cross the United States. So it's kind of difficult to have a minister in your government that the United States is seeking to have extradited. It's a kind of dicey thing. Let's hope the USA don't get Jack. Why would we hope that? User numbers. 90% of the comments were about the woman having had enough, presumed she was abused. But Warner had a big US account to invest in the country, man. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. What about Ish and Steve? What about them? They were fighting their extradition same way. UNC stood up for them. Yes, they did. But that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing that they stood up for them. I mean, the guys were basically convicted of some serious crimes. They have to answer for some serious crimes. Stealing from us. That's who they stole from. Us. We, the people. Like, it's funny to me that so many people complain about people not facing the corruption happening in the country, politicians engage in corruption, and no one is facing the consequences. And then they would choose to go with a party that supported two men who were pretty much clearly guilty of a corrupt crime, and they avoided the consequences of that corruption. And that party still has those two men basically as financiers. That's insane stuff. That's FIFA business. No, it's not just FIFA business. User numbers. He didn't just steal from FIFA. It was Haiti own president stole from them. Wow. I hope you're joking, Rhea. I hope you're joking. In that, okay, because Haiti's own president stole from them, it's okay for anyone else to do it. So if a child's parent is abusive to them, that makes it okay for you to go in there and beat up the little child. That reasoning doesn't follow to me. It's not a coherent line of reasoning. All of the charges stem from his involvement in FIFA. Yes, the charges in the United States stem from his involvement in FIFA. Yes, that is true. But the money that he was accused of stealing, it's not that it was FIFA's money, but it was money allotted. For one, a large portion of the money that was stolen was money given by South Africa to the West Indies and Caribbean for the African diaspora that would have been affected by slavery, as a gift from Africa to the diaspora. And, well, the diaspora was much fewer people, let's put it that way. But if a hate is because people stealing from Haiti, then I need to hear all who she hates. What does that have to do with the USA? I'm not speaking about the USA only. I'm talking about the corruption allegations. You're saying that that's FIFA business only. I'm saying it's not just FIFA business. The allegations were that he was in general a corrupt official. And like, do you think if someone is corrupt they would not be corrupt in their dealings in the government. People confuse me so much, People confuse me. People are so confusing to me. The same people that are lamenting continually about the corruption and why is our country so corrupt, they would look at someone who is basically a known corrupt entity and say, yes, that's the person who would lead us better. Like, I don't understand how that works. Those are two different topics. No, it's not two different topics. They are interlinked. If someone is corrupt, it's not like they're corrupt in one area and all of a sudden in the next area they're a brand new different person and an angel. No, that's not how it works. Like Duke, good example. If you cannot be trusted in small things, you cannot be trusted in large things. And he couldn't be trusted in large things either, the allegations say. Like, if you are a supporter of that kind of governance, fine. But let's not mama guy each other and you come out to tell anyone that you care about honesty and uprightness in governance. You don't actually care about that. You just want things to swing your way better. You want a more favorable piece of the pie. That's what you really care about. But let's not pretend like what you want is honest governance of the country, because it obviously is not. It's not what, if that's the kind of direction you're heading, it's obviously not your intention. If you support the USA, then you are supporting extraterritorial reach. So you have to balance the both evils at play here. I don't know if that is true. The USA does act as the big fish in the pond, as we discussed in a previous live, but that's not to say that I am against the USA going and taking out a murderer in Liberia. I am not against that. I have no care for that. And extraterritorial reach, where is that a law? The law is might makes right. That's the law of reality. So if the US says that he contravened their law and they want him enough, what's your argument? The USA is the entire pond. Not those people like Freeting Fridge and $500 in JC. Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm so wary about many Trinidadians, even in talking politics, because you talk politics with someone and you talk it long enough, you have a conversation with them, and it starts off where they talk about honesty, and that PNM government is so dishonest, and what we need is real honest people at the top, and you're like, wow, yeah, you're right, and then you hear them what they talk about and the angle it goes down to, and you recognize they don't actually care about the honesty. They want things in their favor, and people like that are people you should be very careful of those people, because they won't be working towards the betterment of the country in general. If you are with them in a group and all of a sudden they find a way for themselves to benefit and sell out the group, that's what they're going to do, because their interest isn't in general benefit. Additionally, if Jack received bribes, then why aren't the delegates that gave those bribes also indicted? Some of them have been. It's not only Jack that faced crimes. The person who was the US citizen was the first person to be prosecuted on it. First person. So it's not like he was all alone and they were victimizing him only. We will set a wrong precedent if we allow other countries to reach into your internal affairs. No, it's not our internal affairs. You just said this is FIFA business. His dealings with FIFA are not our internal affairs. So if you're saying that we should protect him, here's the relevance of that. Let's say that a Trinidadian went over to Syria during the time when ISIS was functioning, and they did crimes over there. They committed mass murder out there in Syria, and then they left Syria and came back to Trinidad, and some national government, one of the governments out there, they killed some US citizens while they were working for ISIS. They killed some US citizens, and now the US wants them. Are you saying that if someone did murder US citizens as an ISIS worker, as an ISIS militant in Syria and comes back to Trinidad, we should then protect them as a Trinidadian. We should say, no, we are not going to give them up to the United States because they are Trini and we must protect them from extraterritorial reach. User number says, let's get to the bottom of this. Though, if Jack can be indicted in the United States, then why didn't Trinidad or Africa or any other country indict him as well? Because he didn't use our funds. He didn't use our system to wire transfer. He used the United States SWIFT and US dollar system to do his alleged crimes. So if he used their system, that's how he is indicted under their laws. That's why his sons who were in the United States, they already faced jail. They already faced jail and came back out. They already faced jail and came back out. So he instructed his bank to make a transfer. What's the point of that? He did not tell them to use the USA system. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference what he told them to do. Okay, I hired a murderer, I hired an assassin to go and kill somebody, and I told them, don't use the highway, don't drive down the highway, take only the back roads and the main roads, and go and kill that person for me. They went and killed the person, and then they took the highway. And when they took the highway, the law enforcement found them on the highway and charged them. And now I am on the hook for murder. And I'm saying, you know what? You can't charge me for murder because I told the person that I told to commit the crime on my behalf, I told them not to use the highway. So because I told them not to use the highway, you cannot charge me for a crime. It doesn't actually work like that, user plenty numbers. It doesn't actually work like that. You're making me question the law degree here a bit. You're making me question the law degree here. If you're wondering how someone is charged for that, that's pretty basic law. That's basic law. That's why criminals who want to get away want to use diamonds and stay away from the US dollar and any system that the US controls. Mikhail says, but in all honesty, I don't mind corruption. I love it. How much people wouldn't be able to get a DP? I hate corruption. I despise it because although I may, or some people may benefit in limited areas, the payment that we have to make for corruption throughout society is always a loss. It's always a loss. Yes, user, it might be easier to explain while speaking, but that's what I'm saying. Like I don't understand the super defense. I don't understand it. I like, it's the nature of it. The place is just too corrupt, and it's only poor people pays for it. It's not only poor people, but probably mostly. All right, let's not get to measuring each other now. Let's not get to measuring each other. User, do you want to have a discussion? I was going to dive out there, but if you want to have the discussion, we will talk, you know. If you want to have the actual discussion about it, you could request to come up and we'd actually talk about it. No, you could discuss it with me. Discuss it with me. It's not with Empress Rooney. You'd be having the discussion with me if you request to come up. But I don't know how well that request to come up might work with the kind of situation it's working now. What kind of TikTok fire? You know, TikTok regularly gets heated in these parts. TikTok regularly gets heated in these parts. Isn't it a federal violation on US? Yes, there are all kind of violations. Like the question here isn't whether he broke US law. It has already been established that he did break US law. There's no doubt about that. He broke US law. So like I don't even understand how there's a question about, you know, how on earth is he being charged for this? Well, he broke US law and they caught him breaking US law, so they can charge him for it. It's the nature of all that works. It's like, It's like the El Chapo. El Chapo was not in the United States. He was in his home country of Mexico. He was in his home country of Mexico making his herbal potions, you know, working as a pharmacist in Mexico. He was a Mexican pharmacist. He happened to have a very lucrative global business, a global distribution network for his pharmaceutical products, and his global network of distribution of his pharmaceutical products ended up crossing the US border. And because of that, the United States went in and took the man. And now El Chapo, the Mexican pharmacist, is sitting in a maximum security prison in the United States, I think in Colorado. That's the nature of how it works. What US law did he break? Well, you have plenty numbers, sir. If you want to know the specifics of what law he broke, it was outlined clearly, US tax code with the little weird number 069 or whatever by the Attorney General who issued the warrants for the arrest. Like, I mean, it's not that difficult. You could literally Google US charges against Jack Warner, and you will see the list all of the tax codes he broke, where he broke this, money laundering here, wire fraud here, and the people who did it with him have already went to jail for it. They have already made their jail time and come out. Chuck Blazer done die, and we're still here fighting up with this. Like, I'm not getting it. I really am not. He broke his special clause in US bribery law, but that's another conversation. Okay, well, he broke the law. And here's the thing. I understand that the United States gunned for him a bit. The United States did gun for him a bit. I believe that, because he was Icarus. He reached too close to the sun. He was the wheeler and dealer in the FIFA workings, and he played the United States, he played Britain, and then turned around and gave the World Cup to Qatar. Now, I mean, if you're playing those kind of games where you're the wheeler and dealer, and you're rubbing the feathers the wrong way of the biggest guys in the game, then don't be surprised when the biggest guys in the game start to push around their way too. I don't doubt that maybe some law enforcement bureaus in the United States may have had their eye on Jack Warner for years. They may have known a lot of what he does. They may have known where he contravened the law for years. But now you got the wrong people angry. You brought Clinton, you brought Beckham, you brought them all to the FIFA headquarters there, and they sat in embarrassment as you announced Qatar would be the next holder of that World Cup. Of course the people were going to gun after you. There's no surprise with that at all. Conversation. Alright, folks, before people start to fight in the chat here, use up plenty numbers. So hit me that request. I haven't seen it. Hit me that request, so at least in the next live you'll be able to jump in and we could have that discussion. I remember we were having a discussion in the previous live too. Nice stuff. I hope everyone who was here was educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Wednesday is Tobago Day, so tomorrow we're talking Tobago issues when we jump in the Mindful Live tomorrow. So I will see you guys then. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out, folks. Laters. Whoop, whoop.